method. Strawberry Fields suggests a chance encounter at a mountain wedding between Claudio Monteverdi and a jug band. And yet, for a portion of the musical elite, the Beatles are, for this year at least, incomparably in. After all, if you make use of sitars, white noise, and Kathy Berberian, you must have something, right? Wrong. The real attraction, concealed by virtue of that same adroit self-deception with which coffee-house intellectuals tucked themselves into Charlie Parker in the 40s and Lenny Tristano in the 50s, is the need for the common triad as purgative. After all, the central nervous system can accommodate only so many pages of persistent pianissimos, chord clusters in the marge, and tritones on the vibes. Sooner or later, the diet palls, and the patient cries out for a cool draught of C major. In filling this need, however, the Beatles are entirely incidental. They get the nod at the moment simply through that amateurishness which makes the whole phenomenon of their C major seem credible as an accident of overtone displacement, and through that avant-garde article of faith that nothing is more despicable than a professional triad tester. The Beatles' in versus Petula's relative out can be diagnosed on the same terms and as part of that same syndrome of status quest that renders Tristano's G minor complex arcane, Poulenc's organ concerto in the same key banal, the poetry of the Aglulic Eskimos absorbing, Sibelius' Tapiola tedious, and that drives those who feel diffident to buy Bentleys. But for Tony Hatch, tonality is not a worked-out load. It is a viable and continuing source of productive energy with priorities that demand and get from him attention. Downtown is the most affirmatively diatonic exhortation in the key of E major, since the unlikely team of Felix Mendelssohn and Harriet Beecher Stowe pooled talents for Still, Still with Thee when purple morning breaketh, when the bird waketh, and the shadows flee. Sign of the Times, on the other hand, admits one fairly sophisticated altercation between the tonic with its dominant and the minor mediant relation similarly embroidered, which twice underlines the idea that
Baby, my lucky star, at last decided to shine. Maybe somebody knows how long I've waited to make you mine.
the harmonic overlay suggests that there's still sufficient altostratus cloud cover to hamper visibility. My Love, though, remains firmly persuaded of its non-modulating course.
Is warmer than the warmest sunshine, softer than a sigh. My love is deeper than the deepest ocean, wider than the sky.
Throughout its 2 minutes and 45 seconds, the only extra-diatonic event which disturbs proceedings is the near-inevitable hookup to the flattened supertonic for a final chorus, two neighborly dominants being the pivots involved.
Once I thought that love was meant for anyone else but me. Once I thought you'd never come my way.
Indeed, only one secondary dominant, which happens to coincide with the line it shows how wrong we all can be, compromises the virginal propriety of its responsibly confirming Fuchsian basses. And none of those stray, flattened leading tones as root implies a moment's lack of resolution. It's all of a piece, a proud, secure, Methodist tract, preordained, devoid of doubt, admitting of no compromise. And as legions of Petulas gyrate ensnared within its righteous euphony, galleries of oval-framed ancestors peer down upon that deft deflation of the lyrics and approve.
My love is warmer than the warmest sunshine, softer than a sigh. My love is deeper than the deepest ocean, wider than the sky. My love is brighter than the brightest star that shines every night above. And there is nothing in this world that can ever change my love.
After the prevailing euphoria of the three songs which preceded it, Who Am I reads like a document of despair. It catalogues those symptoms of disenchantment and ennui which inevitably scuttle a trajectory of emotional escalation such as bound that trilogy together. The singer's downtown-based confidence in the therapeutic effect of noise, hurry, and bright lights has been shattered. Those alluring asphalt canyons which promised an escape from that life which is making you lonely have exacted a high price for their gift of anonymity. For though she's now found a place where buildings reach up to the sky, where traffic thunders on the busy street, where pavement slips beneath my feet, She continues to walk alone and wonder, who am I? Clearly, it's a question of identity crisis, vertiginous and claustrophobic, induced through the traumatic experience of a metropolitan environment and quite possibly aggravated by sore feet. There is, of course, the inevitable apotheosis, complete with falsetto C, on behalf of the restorative therapy of amour. But I have something else entirely free, the love of someone close to me, and to question such good fortune, who am I? Yet the prevailing dysphoria of that existentially questing title is not to be routed by so conventional and half-hearted an appendage. Motivically, Who Am I plays a similar game of reverse downtownism. The principal motivic cell unit of that ebullient lead consisted of the interval of a minor third plus a major second, alternating upon occasion with a major third followed by a minor second. In Downtown, the composite of either of these figures, the perfect fourth, became the title motive, and the figures themselves were elongated by reiterated notes. When you're alone and life is shuffled by commas, downtown where, to help I, pretty, how can, and constantly elaborated by the sort of free diatonic transpositioning which seems entirely consistent with the improvisatory fantasies of youth.
Guide them along, so maybe I'll see you there. We can forget all our troubles, forget all our cares, so go down.
In Who Am I, however, the same motive, though introduced and occasionally relieved by scale-step passages, the buildings reach up to the sky, is most often locked into a diatonic spiral, the notes FEC, CAG serving to underline.
I walk alone and wonder, who am I?
Furthermore, the bass line at this moment is engaged with the notes D, G, E, and GEA, a vertical synchronization of which would imply a harmonic composite of the title motive. Now, admittedly, such Schoenbergian jargon must be charily applied to the carefree creations of the pop scene. At all costs, one must avoid those more formidable precepts of Princetonian babbitry, such as pitch class, which, since they have not yet forged the Hudson unchallenged, can scarcely be expected to have plied the Atlantic and to have taken Walthamstow Studio without a fight. Nevertheless, Downtown and Who Am I clearly represent two sides of the same much-minted coin. The infectious enthusiasm of the downtown motive encounters its obverse in the somnambulistic systematization of the Who Am I symbol, a unit perfectly adapted to the tenor of mindless confidence and the tone of slurred articulation with which Petula evokes the interminable mid-morning coffee hour laments of all the secret sippers of suburbia.
I long to wake up in the morning and find everything has changed, and all the people that I meet don't wear a frown. But every day is just the same. I'm chasing rainbows in the rain. All the dreams that I believe in let me down.
Strictly speaking, the idea of suburbia is meaningless within the context of Marathon. From Waterfront to Presidential Row is but 5 blocks, and beyond that elevation one can pick out only two symbols of urban periphery, the Peninsula Golf and Country Club, no trespassing, keep off the grass, beware the dog, and as summer alternative, a small pond cared for by a local service club in lieu of the fjord, which was long ago rendered unfit for swimming. Both are well within range of the transmitter, though its power rapidly declines as one passes beyond the Country Club towards the highway, and consequently, whether via transistor or foyer PA, one remains exposed to the same single-channel news and music menu. The problem for citizens of Marathon is that, however tacitly, a preoccupation with escalation and a concern with subsequent decline effectively cancel each other out. And the result, despite the conscientious stratification of the town, is a curiously compromised emotional unilaterality. There are, of course, other ways to plan a town. Terrace Bay was designed 2 years after Marathon and apparently profited by the miscalculations which plagued its eastern neighbor. Wind direction, predominantly norwesterly, was carefully plotted and the plant accordingly located to the north and east of the settlement. The town was designed around a shopping plaza and set on level ground 200 feet above Lake Superior. The executives were encouraged to locate like den mothers, one to each prefab block. Coddling the men don't work, Prince Metternich assured me, just robs them of incentive. I resolved to have a look and set off at dusk for the gem of the North Shore. Number 17, patrolled at night, affords a remarkable auditory experience. The height of land in northern Ontario, a modest 2,000 feet, is attained immediately north of Lake Superior. From beyond that point, all water flows toward Hudson's Bay and ultimately the Arctic Sea. Traversing that promontory after sundown, one discovers an astounding clarity of AM reception. All the accents of the continent are spread across the band, and as one twiddles the dial to reap the diversity of that encounter, the day's auditory impressions with their hypnotic insularity recede. Then we emerge as part of a balanced and resilient perspective. This is London calling in the North American service of the BBC. Here is the news read by... And it's 46 chilly degrees in Grand Bend. Say there, Dad, if it's time for that second car you've been promising the little woman, how's about checking the bargains down at... Et maintenant, la symphonie numéro 42, que 720 de Mozart, joué par... Okay, chickadees, here's the one you've been asking for, and tonight it's specially dedicated to Paul from Doris, to Marianne from a secret admirer, and to all the men in special detention detail out at the Institute, from Big Bertha and the gals of the MS Vagabond, riding at anchor just a cozy quarter mile beyond the international limit, Pet Clark with that question we've all been asking. I walk alone and wonder, who am I?